Good evening and
Hey,
welcome to Second Chances with Pablo Agrio. This is a program where we talk about things that most people don't want to talk about. We try to share with you a little bit of a world that goes unnoticed by the mainstream media, and we try to educate, enlighten, and even inspire if possible. And again, if you like what you hear, if you like what you see, don't forget to hit that share, subscribe button so that we can keep hearing from you. And please share your comments. Let us know what you think, how you feel. If you have any questions, we'll try to get to them as best we can. Today, it is my pleasure to be with author Jameel Williams. This young man has a story to tell. I'm very impressed with him. I read his bio. I'm not going to get into it. I'm going to let him talk about it. But I know that Jameel had a tough time as a youth, and he found himself in a dark spot. Welcome, Jameel. How are you, sir? What's going on?
hey, thank you for having me on your show, Pablo. I'm someone who has, can stand true to this second chances, man, because I'm one who got one. I'm not gonna get into it. I'll let you tell it and going in, but I spent a lot of time in prison, and now I'm coming back as one of the biggest mentors, as someone that's can show you that there is a second chance if given the proper resources.
Yes, sir. So listen, this is what I want to do. First of all, I know that you went in there when you were very young,
Right.
and you had a stiff penalty, a stiff sentence. So I'd like to know, as a young man, when you went in there, how were you impacted psychologically, spiritually, emotionally, physically, being a young man just starting your life, and you have this heavy sentence weighing over your head? What was going through your mind? How did you deal with that initially?
Well, at the time that I was given a long sentence, I was going through a transition in my life where, I was starting to, realize the streets wasn't, where I needed to be. And I was missing out on a lot of life because of the streets. And I was a really big impact player. So, just making that mind shift, that was a big change in the way I usually went about things. So going into jail, in prison, it was about, staying true to myself of not making sure that, I'm not going to let nobody punk me, but at the same time, not, showing the rude behaviors that made me get into that spot.
Right. So it's kind of like a survival thing. Uh,
Right.
dig it. You gotta make sure nobody wants to take advantage of you, and that you want to survive, and at the same time you're keeping hope alive.
Right.
Now, while you were in there, your situation is desperate. You got a big sentence hanging over your head, and very few resources, and probably no money, like most of us when we end up in that situation. But what is interesting about your bio, man, is that you tell the story that you educated yourself and you fought your case and you got it overturned. Man, listen, I want to hear about that, because that is amazing. Not too many people have a story like that, and I'd like you to share that with the audience, man. How did you get that done?
So I was always someone, man, who always, took, responsibility for what you had to do. And I just didn't want to put my hands in some lawyers, hands to, free me. For those that don't know, I was doing like life without parole. So it's like for me to come back, I had to really, set my mind right to, okay, I have to do the law work. I have to know what I'm talking about. I have to get the cases right. And I always had the, top representation, but you even in that situation to give your hope up into someone else's hands, that's just foolish.
Yes, sir. I completely understand that. When I went down, I know when I hit the pen, I was suffering from depression and low self-esteem, and I basically gave up on life, man. And I allowed the people that were representing me to do shabby work, and they didn't really fight for me. I don't know that they could have done anything for me, but
Right.
honestly, I understand what you mean. If you don't fight for yourself, man, nobody's gonna fight for you. And so kudos to you for doing that. And so you got that conviction
So
overturned at the state or the
yeah,
federal level?
so yes, I was at the state. I was at the state sentence, and like you see how you were saying that I was like completely different. Like I lived every day like, I knew I was going home. I kept a
Mm.
positive outlook. I didn't really let depression come into setting. I was someone who tried to influence and keep everybody, up around me, tell them to make a change, tell them, the lifestyle that I was living, how it brought me here, and how if I give it a second chance, what changes I would make. So I was telling my peers as well as the youth that was coming up and in front of me, like, this is where you're gonna end up. So I wasn't really depressed. I was more, less motivated all every day to come home.
So when you got that letter from the court saying that your conviction had been overturned, what was that like, man? What is that feeling like? Share with the audience about that
Oh wow.
complete
So
ecstasy.
at the time, I was doing it, I was in a room with a correctional officer a lady that was, caseworker. So she called my lawyer, and he was really talking about, I was talking about how I life, and he was telling me how you'll never go home, and this is everybody says that. And then my lawyer called and said that your case has been overturned right
My
in front of his face.
man, that has
So,
got to be a relief.
oh man, but unfortunately, I overturned my case in my fifth year. I ended up getting no bail. I ended up fighting my case for another 7 years.
Now, why was that? I read that in the bio, and I was kind of
Right.
a little concerned or confused about that. Why did it
So,
take so long for them to release you?
so listen, I went through about three DAs. I went through about three lawyers, so it was a back and forth battle of, when I felt that they was ready, I'm like, wait a second. When I was rushing, they didn't want to go. So it all worked out at the time. So, me and my co-defendant end up pleading, and we're back, and we're both doing well and being mentors.
Hallelujah. Now, I'm sure
Absolutely.
that family and friends were relieved when they heard the news that you were coming back out.
I mean, yeah, they always knew that I was doing good in there, so they figured, once he come home with a healthy mindset, and the backing that he had, he was going to come out and do great things, and that's just not me. I feel like everybody that I was surrounded with, we've all come home, and we've all, become, mentors and pillars of the community. So we helped each other.
Yeah, and I don't know if it's true in your case, but in my case, a lot of those guys that did time with me and came out and out here doing this as good as you mentioned, all of them to me are like my brothers. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
That's an experience that we'll never forget. And I tell you, I celebrate with them every time I hear that somebody's doing great and good things and they're moving up in the world. So, that's the reason why we have this program, Second Chances, that we
Right.
want to let the community know that, hey, man, it's okay to fall on your face, but it's what you do when you get up and how you dust yourself off and move forward. So after you came out, man, you came out, you got back in the community, and you got busy, you got to working. How did this business about writing a book come about? Or how many books have you?
So so currently I've published four books underneath my own publishing company, Casual Business Moves Publishing. I'm working on my fifth book. It should be done in about a month or so, and I have two more upcoming projects. But you know, c- coming to writing, everybody just told me, listen, you have a story. You've been through a lot. The way you are, you would never think that you was that person back in the day. So, just like I said before, coming home, we used to run second chances like your show. We had second chance programs in the institution where we basically mentored everybody and fed off of each other. So, you know,
So was it difficult for you to publish the first book, or was it a self-published, or you had to create your
well,
company before you publish your first book?
so I've never worked for anybody but myself. So I've always been about business. So the first thing I did when I wanted to write a book was learn the business part. So I learned how to, start a company, how to start a LLC, how to, find the editors, the graphics. So, I went in, Google's a great tool that I found, that you can basically find anything that you need. So, and I just went to work.
Yeah. Look, and it's interesting that you mentioned that because, a lot of us, man, and I include myself in that, man, there is business opportunities out there, man, but we are ignorant as how to get started, where do we go to find the information, and what is it that we need to do it. As soon as you start talking to somebody about starting your own business or getting an idea that you have and blowing it up, people get intimidated by that because they think the obstacles are too high and too big. What would you say about that?
I would say like no one's ever going to see your vision but yourself. So a lot of people, they, laughed at my idea. A lot of people, said that wouldn't work, but that's a lot of businesses that I started, and a lot of them have been become as successful. So I feel like you have to, first, believe in yourself. Once you start believing in yourself, then there's nobody that can shoot you down. Once you do that, I think it's all about knowledge. Get the knowledge, and then once you know what you're talking about, execute your plan.
Right. Now, listen, your books, are those fictions or non-fictions? What are their subject matters and what kind of audience do you target?
So the first two books are based off my life story. It's a trilogy, so I'm working on the third one as we speak. The second two, since I spent a lot of time in prison, were erotic short stories, just, from my imagination to show writers that, readers that I was, a versatile writer. So my next two books after that will be a race relation book. And then I'm doing, avoiding the potholes of the street so the youth don't, make the same mistakes that we made growing up.
Right. So that it's a nice place there to segue into, what are you doing presently then in the community, man, to try to help youngsters,
Oh,
people that that you see coming up that are making mistakes. How are you managing that? What are you doing to work with them? You said in your bio, you mentioned that you work with a lot with youths. So tell us a little bit about that, man. How you trying to influence the
oh,
community
wow.
doing
So
better?
I mean, I can go on and on. I mean, from mentoring DYS kids to mentoring, having groups with lifers. But I do a annual turkey drive where we give out hundreds of free turkeys. I do a annual Christmas drive where we give out tons of Christmas clothes, toys, and everything. But throughout the year, throughout the week, I'm mentoring kids. If your kid has a problem, if he's locked up, I'm the one that they talk to. If he has a legal issue, I love sitting on the phone and just talking to you. And of course, every day, throughout the week, I'm there on the streets, man, talking to kids, doing things with them. That's my passion now.
Man, that is awesome. Now, listen, a lot of people have issues with law and problems that they, especially minority communities, man. Now, you don't have a business that has to do with law, but you just mentor people, you just talk to them. So if folks are trying to reach to you, they have a question about something legal, they have a problem, they don't have any money to pay lawyers, but they just want to get a quick answer for something, on idea how to deal with the situation. How can they reach you?
Well, everybody reaches me, by my phone number. It's open 617-356-2813. They can reach me at casualbusinessmoves.com. My website, they can reach me, on social media over Carter Williams. I work with, one of the best lawyers in the city. So it's not just me. I have a team of, legal background that is able, when I'm stuck on something, that they can provide a answer to a question that someone might have for free. So I'm there to help the community, and I'm here to try to stop the violence and become the segue before it gets to that point.
Yeah, and you are out of Boston, right? I don't know if we mentioned that or not. You,
Right.
You,
So I'm born and raised in Boston, Mass, but I've lived in different cities, such as Virginia, DC, and I've traveled everywhere. So I'm very well, connected with the inner city, just not in my community, but other places as well.
now, presently, what kind of problems do you see happening in the community down there in Boston that is something that the the country at large is missing, that they're not aware of, or the mainstream media is not covering? You know what I'm saying? Because we only get what they want us to get,
Right.
they want us to hear. But the real problems that I know I've seen, in, like, for instance, just to give an example of what I'm talking about, I recently saw a report where they were talking about places like Chicago and other places that are getting overwhelmed with the immigration thing and the open
Right.
border thing. Are you experiencing anything like that in Boston?
So, yeah, they've actually just had to, put some resources to the side just for, immigration. Boston is one of the biggest cities that the immigrants have migrated to, and not only that, we're dealing with a big heroin epidemic. So we're dealing with that, and now it's trying to push into the inner communities. But yeah, I'm someone that's very familiar with everything that's going on, and someone who's very active with not just the people in the community, but also with the government part, like the trying to talk to the city councilors, trying to talk to the people that the organizers that's going to get things to the community. So I'm very hands on.
Yeah, yeah. Man, that's great. And I like to hear that, because we need that. Personally, I feel that, the people that are, in office right now, that are supposed to be taking care of our business, man, are not really doing a very good job at it. But that's just my personal opinion. I don't want to say too much on that, because next thing you know, we
Right.
get canceled out. You know what I'm saying? But it's good. And I think that it's one of the things that I would like our audience to pay attention
So
to, that how you are so involved and connected with what's going on, that you're trying to influence what some of the politics are in the community, to try to make things better.
I mean, what I was gonna say is, like, just not in Boston, but just like in every inner city. I think that what we're really missing is a lack of resources. So a lot of times the city does give resources, but it doesn't get back to the communities where they really need it. It doesn't get back to the corners and where people are really suffering. And I was just asked a question at one of my fairs, where someone was like, "Oh, well, the inner city, don't they, shoot over sneakers or everything?" And I'm like, "No, it's like, no matter what environment you're in, no matter what country you're in, when there's a lack of resources, there's always going to be a spike in crime, because they're fighting over just crumbs. You have to, if there's no jobs available, and especially like in Boston, I told them, we was talking about, I say, affirmative action is put in place for a reason. It's because stats have showed that we can't get jobs, and you're more likely to hire your cousin, everybody else. So, there is a reason that we do need help. So, I think a lack of resources, and just putting our people in power so we can give back to each other.
Yeah. Now, listen, I know that based on what the bio that you sent me, that you also have some programs. You mentioned just a couple minutes ago, and when I asked whether how people can reach you, that you're heavily active on social media too. So, talk a little bit about your podcast and some of the programs that you do. I think you do a radio show and all
Okay.
that.
Right.
People wanted to listen to Pablo Williams talk, and what his position is on issues, or what he's doing with the community to help out. Where can they tune in to listen to you?
So, I do a radio podcast show 88.5 every Wednesday night, 11 to 1 a.m. I also do, online chats, man, Facebook Live. But I'm always someone that gives my opinion on everything, especially social media things that have to do with us. I'm very vocal, when it comes to, you know, things that we need for us, and because I'm one on the front line usually that's giving things out of pocket. So I try to get as many people to come with us and donate with us.
Right. So that's cool. So, and is this radio station just in Boston area alone, or they can hook it up
Um,
to the internet too if they're looking for it?
yeah, I said if there is a podcast. There is a podcast they could tune in and I think it goes all the way to Massachusetts and might go a little bit past that, but I'm not sure it goes that far.
No. All right, cool. I'm gonna try to see if I can check it out myself and see what how it
So
sounds. What you
we do
got.
the podcast show. If you can't tune in on to the radio show, we do the podcast. You can tune into the podcast.
Right. Okay. Cool. All right. So, is there anything else that you want to share with the audience, man? Anything that you're involved in? Any advice that you have for people that are experiencing tough times, bad times, that they're going through situations right now? What can you say to them for them to keep hope alive? Because I know there's a lot of people out there that are experiencing situations right now that seem hopeless, but here we are, you and me, to try to tell them that, look, if you have faith, if you keep working hard, if you believe in yourself, you can make it.
I say, like, no matter what you're gonna do, you have to make a decision in life. What side of the track you're gonna be on. And unfortunately, everybody who's went down the wrong side, they've always ended up in a bad situation. It's
Right.
it's it's nothing that we can't see over and over. You watch your friends, go to jail, and what do they gain? A lot of them just gain, losing time, losing focus. They came home, they didn't have their girls, they didn't have their home and right. The people that went to school that got great jobs. I came home, they had houses, they had their life together. So nothing you gain from just walking through the street life. Only thing you do is lose. And so I would say, like, if you get a second chance, make the most out of it. Just not do it for yourself, but do it for others. Understand that just getting that second chance wasn't just for you, it was for the community. It was for the destruction that you caused in it, and hopefully you can give back and leave a different legacy than you left with.
Yeah, amen to that. I agree with that 100%. Like, one of the worst things that we can do when we're experiencing situations, and I know this from personal experience, is start to feel sorry for yourself
Right.
and think that the situation is hopeless and you're not going to be able to overcome it. I would add to what you just said there that, first of all, you got to accept responsibility for what you did, own it. You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
Because if you don't do that, then you can't move forward. And then once you accept responsibility for what you did and you own it, then you can start to make adjustments. What you make a mistake, that doesn't mean that that's who you are. That's something that you did, but you
Right.
can overcome it and you can get going. And if you put your head to it and you work hard, you can come out on the other head and the other side. So we have this thing in common that we have, a book published or some books. I just want to take a moment before we run out of time to let people know, and I'm encouraging you, my man, if you get a chance to go on Amazon.com and get yourself a copy of my latest book, Uncle Willie by Pablo Agrio, and I'm going to do the same
Okay.
thing for you. I think your books are on Amazon too. Is that correct?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah, after the show, you can just send me a text, man, and let me know the titles and where I can get it.
Absolutely.
I'm gonna go check you out, brother, because that's how we do it. We one hand
So,
washes the other. You know what I'm saying?
so my first two books, we have Wrong Turn Right,
Yeah.
and then we have Source of Information. So these are the two books that are based on my life story, and you can basically see how I grew as a person and the growth that I experienced in prison, and how I am today. So
Yes.
check it out.
And I want to wish you all the success in the world, man. I know you said you got a couple more books that are coming out. I can't
Right.
wait to see what that looks like. And before we sign off, brother, I just want to give you an opportunity to say whatever parting thoughts you may have, anything that we
Right.
didn't cover, anything that you think is important that we missed. this is your moment, man. We got a couple of minutes before we move on, so have at it, my brother.
All right. Well, thank you for tuning in. I'm Arthur J. Williams, owner of Casual Business Moves Publishing. Come check me out. But I highly, encourage everybody, man, to take everything we say serious, because this is our youth that we're dealing with. This is the second generation that we can lose, and then where do we go from here? So if we have to get back to just not us as parents, God and our kids. We need everybody. We need the neighbors to really look down and make sure that our kids are safe and protected. And we need everybody else from the government on to realize that we are someone that, are endangered, and we need to be protected as well. So I say, listen, come together. Let's make things happen. Get knowledge, and become entrepreneurs of the next level.
Excellent. And I want to add to that, man, that look, man, there's strength in numbers, in unity, man. We need to stop
Absolutely.
this division and this fighting and squabbling among ourselves, man. And we need to come together, man, and we need to figure it out. Nobody else is going to do this for us. Now, there's a lot of things that we lose when we make mistakes and we end up behind bars. I did a show not too long ago about collateral consequences.
Right.
A lot of people think that, when you get sentenced, you get punished. That's the beginning and that's the end of it. But I'm here to tell you, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, that is not. Once you get in there, there's a lot of things that you lose. I talked about being civilly dead, and that's something that people need to be aware of, because once you get sent up, there's a lot of things that you can't do after that. A lot of places you cannot go, a lot of jobs you cannot have, and so people need to be aware of that. And what
Not only
go ahead, my man.
does it start with you, but it's a lot of psychological damage on your loved ones, man. They're going through day by day with you. So a lot of times, like you said, you're not financially in a place to take care of yourself, so you leave the burden on your loved ones. They're worried every day about what can happen to you when you're in there, and then again, coming out, that's a whole nother animal where you're faced with the adversity of being a felon. You're faced with the adversity of someone looking down on you because there's a big gap of time that you haven't been in the environment, so you're not trusted. So, it's all about, again, accountability, and, building your name up for something that's, you can leave a positive legacy on.
Yeah, and one of the things we didn't talk about, but I'd like to mention, is like one of the biggest obstacles and some of the things that I'm still dealing with today, because I was down for such a chunk of time, is that we're living in a world now where everything is internet and social media, and when I got out of there, I was so ignorant about these things. I didn't even know how to use a phone.
Absolutely.
I went to buy a Coke at one of these burger joints. The guy gave me a cup and a straw and told me to go get my own soda. And I went to the machine and I didn't even know how to work it. I had to stand back and watch a little kid play with the buttons and get his thing. And then I said, oh, I guess that's how it works.
Right.
So, yeah, so there's a lot of that too. We are disconnected, so to speak, to the advances that have taken place technologically and otherwise. And it's a little harder for us to catch up. But, so we need to spend time together, because a lot of these things we can work out together. What you know and what I don't know, then we can share and then we can come up. So listen, man, it's been a great, fantastic time spending time with you, my brother. I hope this is the beginning out of a long and fruitful friendship. I'm here for you. I want to thank you again for taking the time to come on, and you have the last word, my brother. We got about 60 seconds.
All right. Again, I want to thank you, Pablo. Again, amazing interview. You always have a great light when I see you. So, thank you for having me on. And listen, second chances. If you haven't tuned in, it's a great show. So make sure you tune in, just not to this one, but the next episode, and check out the other ones, man. So thank you for having me on. Appreciate you.
Peace, brother. And
Peace.
this is Second Chances. Until next time. Bye.
All right.